I forgot. Okay, but so moist mucus, the surfaces, that is the epithelium of the respiratory system, epithelium, is covered with moist mucus that helps in trapping particles, and the moist mucus helps in trapping particles and unknown organisms. An example are the bacteria, the bacteria and the viruses. And so in the mucus, we have lysosomes, which are antibodies. Antibodies, they fight antigens. And an antigen simply is an invader. An antigen is it's basically just a protein that invades us from the outside. It could be viral, it could be bacterial, it could be fungal. And so in the mucus we have lysosomes, and there are cells in the surface of the epithelium that are responsible for producing these antibody lysosomes, which help in fighting infections. And then thirdly, we have ciliated epithelium, the hairs on the topmost. Ciliated is the hairs in the respiratory system, the respiratory tract, are called cilias. And so through this ciliated, through these hairs, the respiratory system is enabled to clear trapped particles, number one, and organisms from the airway passage. And then we have cough reflex and epiglottis. Epiglottis is an organ that we saw. So we have a cough reflex. When you inhale, when you inhale or when you aspire a particle, you'll automatically feel like coughing, and at times you might cough. When your throat is irritated, you'll feel like coughing something out. And so we have cough reflex, and the epiglottis that helps do away with the particles and the irritants that we inspire that we breathe in. And then we have pulmonary macrophages. Macrophages are more of the police body. It's more of a police system. They help eat up bacteria. Their defense, it's an immune system in our body that helps fight foreign particles. They eat up bacteria. Phagocytes simply mean eating up the bacteria or the foreign particles and organisms in the alveolar sac. So this is a preventive or defense mechanism in the air sac. This one here. This one here is a preventive mechanism in the pharynx or the throat. And then the cilia, this is throughout all the way from the nasal cavity all the way to the trachea, because in the trachea we also have cilia. And then for the antibodies, we have them all the way from the nasal cavity to the air sac, so the alveolus. And then for the mucus, the same. We have them from the nasal cavity. We have them from the nasal cavity all the way to the alveolar sacs or the air sacs or the alveolar space. And so these are some of the body's defense mechanism, the respiratory defense mechanism against anything that might invade in an attempt to cause chaos or cause diseases. And so when these particular defenses are weakened, we can easily catch colds, we can easily get respiratory problems. What are some of the things that weaken these mechanisms? Number one is smoking. And then we have respiratory pathogens. Pathogens, these are more of invaders. Respiratory pathogens. They can be bacterial or they can be viral, or they can as well be fungal. These particular invaders, the bacteria, the viruses, and the fungus, can easily weaken the defense mechanism, the defense barriers that we've discussed. And then inadequate habits of eating and drinking, like irregularity in meals, eating fried foods, anything that would lower your immune system could fall under this point 3. Anything that could lower your immune system will fall under that. And anything that increases mucus secretion would as well fall under that. And then we have strain and tension. An example is strain and tension. An example is breathing in irritating substances. And then we have insufficient air and outdoor exercise. Insufficient air, outdoor exercise, rest, and sleep. So if you do not breathe enough air, let's say fresh air, not just air, but fresh and pure air, then there's a likelihood that the irritants that probably you breathe in, or the polluted air that probably you breathe in, will destroy, number one, the cilius in your respiratory system, in the nasal cavity all the way through. It will interfere or dry up the mucus line, and so we need to sleep well, we need to rest well, so that we cannot catch easily colds. We need to do exercise in open, fresh air. That will help strengthen our immune system, and in turn, it will make it easier for the body to fight any viral or bacterial infection. And so, in the upper respiratory system, these are some of the infections that might affect, these are some of the diseases that might affect the upper respiratory system. To be specific, infections. And so we have they are viral pathogens, and the viral pathogens, depending on the type of virus, they can cause these particular diseases. Number one is rhinovirus, which is caused by that particular pathogen, rhinovirus. We have parainfluenza virus, can cause a common cold. We have respiratory syncytial virus. We have adenovirus. We have coronavirus. And so these enter the body through the mucous membrane of the nose or the eye, and they spread readily through respiratory secretion. An example is cough, sneezing, hand-to-hand contact. These particular viruses, you can they are what we called we call them okay, I'm forgetting the term, but they can easily be spread through respiratory secretions. That one of them normally comes through the cough, which is saliva. When you sneeze, hand-to-hand contact. Those are ways you can transmit these particular viral pathogens from one person to the other. And they can cause what we know as common cold, what is known as common cold. And so we'll proceed. So common cold can manifest itself through rhinitis. This is the inflammation of the rhinus. And then sinusitis, which is the inflammation of the sinus. These are things that we've talked about, and I believe we know. The rhinus is the nose. I believe we know what the sinus is. So sinusitis is the inflammation of the sinus. Pharyngitis, the inflammation of the pharynx. can result as an headache. These are symptoms of common cold, nasal discharge and congestion. Um, this is it's normally called running nose, nasal discharge, running nose, running nose. And then we have watery eyes, we have um, hacking cough. And so we have common colds. Common colds, majorly they are bacterial. Common colds are majorly bacterial. And then we have influenzas or flus, which majorly flus are normally majorly viral. Flus are normally majorly viral. So flus are normally caused with RNA virus, um, and it can as well affect birds and animals. And these are some of the common symptoms of flus. You've chills, fever, and the fever is sudden, sore throat, terrible muscle pain, severe headache, dizziness, coughing, fatigue, the general discomfort, So those are some of the symptoms or the common symptoms for flus. And I've said flus are generally viral. And the viruses that normally cause flus are the RNA viruses. And so let's see a difference between before we get to that, the difference. Let's see how the World Health Organization define flus. How do they define flus? Number one is it's defined as influenza is a viral infection that affects mainly the nose, throat, bronchi, and occasionally the lungs. Infection usually lasts for about a week and is characterized by sudden onset of high fever, aching muscles, headache, severe malaise, just being tired, non-productive cough. Non-productive simply means it's a dry cough. Sore throat and rhinitis. You feel like the nasal cavity is inflamed. So these are some. This is how the WHO, the World Health Organization, defines cough. Defines flus or influenza. Um, it is a viral infection, number one, and it affects mainly the nose, throat, bronchi, and the lungs. So mainly it affects those. So that's true. And then infection usually there's something that you need to know, that you need to mark. The infection usually lasts for about a week. And what are some of the symptoms? It could be high fever. A. It could be aching muscles. B. Probably headache. C. Just feeling general weakness. D. And then a dry cough. E. And sore throat, and then inflamed nose. G. So that's how flus are defined. And when you meet someone who is having these symptoms, probably they could be having a flu. And so what is the difference? So what are the differences between flus and colds in terms of symptoms? So that what are the differences between flus and colds? Number one, when it comes to fever, it's very rare for someone who has a cold to have fever. Fever is elevated body temperatures, very high body temperatures. So it's very rare for someone who has a cold to have a fever. But for flus, it is high. It is likely that they'll catch a fever. So number one for colds, for fever, positive. For fever, it is positive for colds. Headache, positive. Flu is positive. When you have a flu, then you'll definitely have a headache. But for colds, it's rare. You might not have an headache. It's not a must. You might or might not. It's rare in most cases. But for flus, it is prominent. There's a 99% likelihood. And then general aches, that is the body just being weak. For flus, it is severe, like it is serious. It is serious, severe, or it's worse. For cold, it is mild. Fatigue, it is mild in cold, but for flus, it lasts for almost a month, 2 to 3 weeks. So if you feel fatigued for more than a week, then with those symptoms that I've said, then probably you might be having a virus, and an antibiotic will not help. And exhaustion will definitely be absent in a flu, in a cold, but for flus, it will be there. There's a 99% likelihood. Blocked nose, it is common in colds. It is common in colds. But for flus, it's not a must. Sneezing, usually in colds, positive. In colds, positive. But for flus, sneezing is not really that um, prominent. Sore throat, sore throat is common, positive in colds. And that's how most colds normally start. They start with a sore throat, it worsens, and then your nose gets blocked, or the two begin together, and then you end up getting a runny nose, etc., etc. And then we have chest discomfort or cough. It's always present in flus. For colds, yes, it is positive, but it is mild. It is mild. And so those are some of the differences between colds and flus. Um, is there any questions so far? So we want to look at some of the lifestyle recommendations for colds and flus. So someone can kindly help us read the quotation.
Okay, I'll read. Okay. Is somebody getting me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Um. This is It says, I appeal to you, mothers. Do not feel alarmed and heartsick in seeing your children pale and dwarfed, suffering with catarrh, influenza, croup, scapula swellings appearing upon the face and neck, inflammation and congestion of lungs and brain? Have you studied from cause to effect? Have you provided for them a simple, nutritious diet free from grease and spices? Have you not been dictated by fashion and clothing your children, leaving their arms and limbs insufficiently protected, has been the cause of a vast amount of disease and premature deaths? There is no reason why the feet and limbs of your girls should not be in a very way as warmly clad as those of your boys. Boys, accustomed to exercise out of doors, become inured to cold and exposure, and are actually less liable to colds when thinly clad than girls, because the open air seems to be their natural element. Delicate girls accustom themselves to live indoors and in a heated atmosphere, and yet they go from the heated room out of doors with their limbs and feet seldom better protected from the cold than while remaining in a close, warm room. The air soon chills their limbs and feet and prepares the way for disease. This is what is the book? Sorry, I've forgotten the SM, the second one. Page 417, paragraph 1. Thank you.
So the book is Selected Messages, Book 2, page 471, paragraph 1. Thank you. So in this quotation is contained, you can kindly mute. In this quotation is contained the words, the phrases or the words that I've underlined. So in this quotation is contained some of the lifestyle practices that we really ought to adopt so that we can not easily catch flus. An example is a simple but nutritious diet, free from grease and hot spices and spices. A simple, nutritious diet free from grease and spices. That would mean grease here would mean animal fat. It would as well mean fried foods, using a lot of oil in your food. And some other thing is clothing, mostly in hot season, in cold seasons like this. The arms and limbs should be sufficiently covered. And then outdoor exercise is also of benefit to us when it comes to colds and flus, and this should be done in open air. Should be done in open air. And so delicate girls accustom themselves to live indoors and in a heated atmosphere, and yet they go from the heated room out of the doors with their limbs and feet seldom better protected from the cold than while remaining in a close, warm room. The air soon chills their limbs and feet and prepares the way for disease. And so, what the air just simply does, it hinders proper circulation, and when there is no proper circulation, then disease comes. So those are some of the things that I'd love us to note as we move on. So a simple but nutritious diet. Number 2, proper clothing. Number 3, outdoor exercise. And then number 2, pure air. Very, very essential. You can continue reading. This one is Testimonies to the Church, Volume 1, page 702, paragraph 3. Someone else can kindly help us read.
And I read,
Yes, yes.
the effects produced by living in closed, ill ventilated rooms are these: the system becomes weak and unhealthy, the circulation is depressed, the blood moves sluggishly through the system because it is not purified and vitalized by the pure, invigorating air of heaven. The mind becomes depressed and gloomy, while the whole system is enervated, and fevers and other acute diseases are liable to be generated. Your careful exclusion of external air and fear of free ventilation lead you to breathe the corrupt, unwholesome air which is exhaled from the lungs of those staying in these rooms, and which is poisonous, unfit for the support of life. The body becomes relaxed, the skin becomes sallow, digestion is retarded, and the system is peculiarly sensitive to the influence of cold. A slight exposure produces serious diseases. Great care should be exercised not to sit in a draught or in a cold room when weary or when in a perspiration. You should so accustom yourself to the air that you will not be under any necessity of having the mercury higher than 65 degrees. I don't know the book the quotation is from.
Yes, thank you. So this particular quotation re-emphasizes on pure air, mostly in the rooms we spend our nights in, and probably if it's our office work. So pure air. This is Testimonies to the Church, Volume 1, page 702, paragraph 3, and I believe most of us read along. An example, when the ventilation is not that proper, then the system can easily become weak and the circulation will definitely be depressed. And what will happen to the blood eventually? When there's no proper circulation of blood, then the blood is becomes impure, because for the blood to become pure it has to circulate. We'll discuss that more when talking about the cardiovascular system. So the body, these are some of the effects. So we should at least try and as much as we can avoid living in or probably habiting such rooms. And then the more perfect our health, the more perfect will be our labor. When we overtask our strength and become exhausted, we are liable to take cold at such times. There is danger of disease assuming from a dangerous form. So the second thing is overwork. Overwork can easily make you catch a cold or a flu. Overwork, because it lowers immunity, and it can give you a lot of stress, which will also lower immunity and does a lot of things to your body. So the more perfect our health, the more perfect will be our labor. This is one of the main reasons why God is so interested with our health. He knows that when our health is perfect, then we'll easily and efficiently labor for Him in different ways that He has called us, in the different capacities He has called us to labor for Him as we occupy our various secular duties. So overwork is also something that you need to look at when it comes to cold and flus. So we've seen overwork, we've seen pure air here, we've seen pure air. And so this would mean if you normally wake up with your nose congested or blocked, then probably there might be a problem with your ventilation, or probably there might be a problem with your beddings. Yeah. And then here there is something that was emphasized, that is nutrition. Nutrition was highly emphasized here. Nutrition. Nutrition was highly emphasized here. And then exercise was as well emphasized. Exercise. Exercise is very good for colds and flus. Exercise was as well emphasized here. And open air was as well emphasized. So these are things that you need to look at as you even use the herbs that we'll mention. Because you might be using the herbs and they might not be that helpful because there's something that has been avoided. There's a course that has been neglected, that has not been looked at. So that is for colds and flus. I want us to look at another disease or another infection that is related to the upper respiratory system, and that is tonsillitis. Tonsillitis. These particular organs here, let me use a blue pen. These particular organs here, the ones that I'm circling using blue, they are called tonsils, and they can easily become inflamed. They can easily become inflamed and swell up. Why? Because of a bacterial or a viral infection. And some of the symptoms for tonsillitis is inflammation of the tonsils. One of the symptoms or the signs are tonsils swell up significantly. This one here is a sign. This one here is a sign. They swell up significantly. This is a sign. Redness, they might become red. That is a sign. As you see it in the picture, they might become red. And then appearance of white spots on the tonsils. This one you can just simply tell someone to open your mouth and then you'll see. It is a sign that they might be having tonsillitis. And then recurrent headaches, this is a symptom. Recurrent headaches. And then we have sore throat, which is a symptom. Bad breath. Bad breath is a symptom. Cough is a symptom. Ear pain, symptom. Runny nose is a sign. Throat abscess is a sign. Abscess is pus, is a sign. Rheumatic fever is a symptom. And then bacterial pharyngitis is a symptom. So these are some of the signs and the symptoms for tonsillitis. And as I've said, tonsillitis simply it means inflamed tonsils. And how can we treat tonsillitis? Number one, you just have to eliminate the causative agents. And in this case, mostly what causes tonsils are bacteria and viruses. And so you should increase your fluid intakes. Rest should be asleep between 9:30 to 10. That time should find your sleep. And then there are antihistamines that you can use. Antihistamines. And then the antihistamine is a class of drug. that is used to fight a class of drug that is used for what we know as allergies. Allergies. An example of a medication in that drug is cetirizine. Cetirizine. I know we know it. But then we have antihistamines as well in the plant family. In herbology, an example of an antihistamine is chickweed. It helps fight allergies. And then we have decongestants. Decongestants are also a class of medication that helps in when your chest is congested, when your nose is congested. They really help open up such. An example, a powerful one in the herbology field is peppermint. Peppermint is a very good decongester. Garlic is a very good decongester. Cayenne pepper is a very good decongester. So here we have cayenne, we have peppermint, cayenne, we have peppermint, which are very good garlic. And then you should also increase intakes of vitamin C. Vitamin C, you'll find it in your bell peppers, you'll find it in your citrus fruits, you'll find it in pineapple, you'll find it in baobab. Find it in baobab as well, the baobab powder. In very high amounts, you'll find vitamin C in hibiscus tea. So these are some of the things that you can use when treating tonsillitis, or the treatment of all that we've talked about, everything that we've talked about. That is the tonsillitis, the colds, and the flus. So just try and eliminate everything that we've talked about as causative agents. The causative agents or the factors that weaken the defensive mechanisms of the respiratory system. An example of such, we mentioned smoking. And you can refer to the other slides so that you can see some of the defensive mechanisms that we mentioned. So you have to eliminate anything that weakens it. And then on top of that, you have to include rest, of which by 9:30, 10, if you should be asleep if you have a cold or a flu, and increase fluid intake, antihistamines, decongestants, and vitamin C. And some of the herbs that are recommended for these diseases that we've mentioned, that's the influenza or the flus, the common cold, and tonsillitis or sinusitis, echinacea. Echinacea is very powerful for bacterial and viral infection. Astragalus, very powerful one. Number 3 is golden seal. Golden seal is very powerful for upper respiratory infections. Echinacea, you can take 2 capsules times 3. Astragalus, you can take 2 capsules times 3. The same to golden seal, 2 capsules times 3. And then for garlic, you need 3 cloves twice in a day. For ginger, you just need a thumb size. You just need a thumb size. And this thumb size, you take it twice. And then this one you won't find easily. There's no need mentioning it. This one as well, you won't find it easily in Kenya. Honeysuckle, you won't find it easily in Kenya. So onion, you can use half medium-sized onion. Medium-sized onion. And then aniseed, if you can find, it's an expectorant. To mean it helps purge mucus. If you are having if you're having a runny nose, aniseed is good. Garlic is also an expectorant, so it cuts on mucus or it dries up mucus. That is what an expectorant does. Expectorants are normally is a class of medication that is used to fight flus. It is used to fight colds. It is used to fight respiratory infections. And then we have slippery elm. This is the spelling, slippery elm. Though slippery elm is very good for the gut. So we have slippery elm. These are some of the herbs that are recommended for colds, flus, and sinusitis, that is the sinus blockages, rhinitis, the inflammation of the nose, tonsillitis, the inflammation of the tonsils. These are some of the herbs that are recommended. And then from these herbs, you can make something that is known as a flu bomb. And this flu bomb, you can make enough to take throughout the day. When you have a cold or when you have a flu, this is something that you can make. So you just take 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, a quarter teaspoon of powdered ginger, take half a tablespoon of powdered ginger, that is the ginger powder. Take 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. And then for lemon, just take one medium-sized, squeeze it so that you can get the juice. For honey, take 1 teaspoon. Eucalyptus essential oil, you can use 2 to 5 drops. 2 to 5 drops. For the eucalyptus essential oil, use 2 to 5 drops. When you have the eucalyptus essential oil, you don't really need the eucalyptus itself. And then cayenne, you can take it as more as you can. It is very therapeutic. As more as you can. I have cayenne capsules, and taking cayenne capsules, 3 capsules times 3 or 4 times in a day is very good for colds and flus. 3 capsules times 3 or 4 times in a day, very good for colds. But when you're making your flu bomb, the drink, you take a quarter cayenne or more, a quarter teaspoon or more. I normally prefer a teaspoon. So just mix all these things together the way I've said them, and then put them in 500 ml water. Don't read what is written in white. Just write what I'm saying by word of mouth, because I'm trying to edit what I wrote earlier, what I've been using earlier. So put these ones in 500 ml of water, very hot water. And then you can wait for the water to become warm, and then take. That is a flu bomb. So in this flu bomb, I'd like you to add peppermint. Peppermint, you can use 2 to 3 drops. And the oils, that is the peppermint essential oil and the eucalyptus essential oil, just add them after the water is warm, because they can easily evaporate when placed in hot water. So add them when the water is warm. You can easily fight actually flus and colds using cloves alone. You just boil 1 or 2 tablespoons, 1 to 2 tablespoons in 500 ml water, and then you take it twice in a day. For 5 days, you'll be able to do away with your flu. But the flu bomb really helps. It comes in a very good, in a very wondrous way, or rather, not really wondrous, but it is highly effective. So the flu bomb. But cloves can as well do, echinacea can do. Golden seal is very powerful for upper respiratory infections. When you take 2 or 3 capsules 3 times in a day, very, very effective. Golden seal as well, it helps. It's an expectorant. It cuts on mucus. It helps if it helps with allergies, because a cold can come as a result of an allergy. Yeah, or a flu can come as a result of an allergy. So golden seal is very, very, very good for upper respiratory infections. We have golden seal capsules which make it easier. You just swallow them. And then we said that we'll see how we can make natural cough syrups. We have cough syrups in the market, and so far they are one of the cheapest remedies, cough syrups. And we have different cough syrups. We have those that have been made from honey. We have those that have been made from okay, I'm forgetting. But this is how you can make a cough syrup alone. So number one, I have 2 recipes here for cough syrups, I believe. Let me see. Okay, I only have 1 recipe. They should be 2. Yeah, there are 2. This is number 1. And then this is number 2. This is number 2. So number 1, you can use onion and honey to make a cough syrup. So on a glass jar, put a layer of onion and then add to that layer, put a layer of honey and then add to that layer. On a glass jar, put a layer of onion. This should be onion. This one here should be onion. So just slice your onions well and then put them in a glass jar. And then on top of the onion, plate it with honey, 9 tablespoons of honey. And then put again onion, slice them well, put them on top of that honey, and then add honey on top of it again. So this is what we mean. This is what I mean. This is a glass jar. And then I'll use green to represent the onion. So you'll put onion in that glass jar, just slice it well. And then after putting the onion on top of the onion, I'll use color, let me use orange. On top of the onion, you put honey, 9 tablespoons. And then after that, again put your onion on top of that, and then put your honey, and then put your honey on top of that, and then onion, and then onion, and then honey, and then honey. So just do that until probably that particular glass is full, or until probably you get to your desired amount of the syrup that you want to make. And then you should close this glass jar tightly. Close the lid and let it sit in a dark room. And after an hour, the syrup is formed. After 1 hour, you'll see the syrup formed. And so you can always continuously shake it. And so the longest this one stays, the longest it stays, the strongest it becomes. The longest it stays, the strongest it becomes. And so for the dosage, for coughs, you can use it for coughs. You'll use 3 teaspoons You'll use 3 teaspoons 3 times in a day. 3 teaspoons 3 times in a day for adults. For children, you'll use half a teaspoon 3 times a day. That's if the child is not breastfeeding. Children that have 1 year and above, 1+ years old. Children that are 1+ years old can use honey. If they're under 1 year old, they shouldn't use honey whatsoever. So you give them 3 times a day. You can give them even more. You can even take, for the adults, they can even take it 5 times in a day or even 6 times in a day, depending, or even after every 1 hour. This one here is food, and there is no under or overdosage. It is food. For the children as well, you can give them 5 or 6 times in a day. It is food. There is no overdosage here because it's not toxic to your system. And then this you can probably add some eucalyptus essential oil here and peppermint essential oil as you desire. You can add a few drops. If it is a full glass jar, if the jar is a jar of 500 ml, you could probably add 5 drops each of eucalyptus and peppermint as you shake. It will be very, very therapeutic. Very, very therapeutic. Very, very therapeutic. For your coughs, for your colds, for your asthma, and all that. And then we can as well add some garlic here, but you don't have to. So you just use the eucalyptus, the peppermint, the onion, and what else? Onion, eucalyptus, peppermint, and what else? Honey. Use them to make your first cough syrup. And then the second cough syrup, you just boil 1 cup of pure honey and then put 8 drops of eucalyptus. You can put 8 to 10 drops of eucalyptus. That's the second cough syrup. 8 to 10 drops of eucalyptus. For adults, give them 1 tablespoon. Probably 3 times in a day, 4 times in a day, or 5 times or 6 times in a day. For children, give them the small spoon 1. That is if they're 1 year and above. You can give it to them 3 times in a day, 4 times in a day, 5 or 6 times in a day. And so it may take up to 3 days before the cough or the flu goes away. So this works greatly when taking upon retiring for the night. So ensure that when you're going to bed, you as well take some 2 or 3, even 1 tablespoon. If you're an adult, if it's a child, teaspoon. For small quantities, take 2 tablespoons in. For small quantities, that's if you don't want to make for the whole family. This is a large quantities. 1 cup of pure honey and 8 drops of internal use eucalyptus. But if you want to make in small quantities, you can take 2 tablespoons to 1 drop of eucalyptus oil, 2 tablespoons of honey and 1 drop of eucalyptus oil. Mix and then take. It will work greatly for your cough. It will be very, very essential for your cough, for your cold, for your flus. Coughs normally come with colds, flus, alongside other things. So these are the natural cough syrups that we talked about. Does anyone has a question there?
I have a question.
Yes, is that Joel?
Yeah, that's Joel.
Go ahead.
So what will you do for the under ones now that they can't take honey?
Now that they can't take honey, um, there are other things that they can use. Um, an example is the golden seal. They can use golden seal. Honey has a bacteria that no the children who are under 1 year old, their immune system is not that strong, or it has not been fully developed. So when they take honey, there are very serious bacteria in honey that might negatively affect them. And so there are things that they can use. There's an extract of honey. I'm forgetting how it's called. But there are syrups for children that has been made by some component of, not really a component, but an example is beeswax. Beeswax is a component of honey, or what? Okay, a produce of bee. There's some produce of bee that can be used by under ones. They can as well just use onion juice alone. You can juice onion and garlic and give them to drink a tablespoon. It's okay. But we have syrups that have been made specifically, not really specifically, that have been made for everyone to use, adults and as well and a child in any age. So the problem is only honey, the bacteria that is in the honey. Is there any other question? Okay, so someone to kindly help us read these quotations. The first, they are actually from Selected Messages, Book 2, page 300 and 301. Someone to kindly help us read them. This is just a re-emphasis on some of the remedies that we've talked about. Someone to kindly help us read.
I read. I'm very sorry to learn that Sister C is not well. I cannot advise any remedy for her cough better than eucalyptus and honey. Into a tumbler of honey, put a few drops of eucalyptus. Stir it up well and take whenever the cough comes on. I've had considerable trouble with my throat, but whenever I use this, I overcome this difficulty very quickly. I've to use it only a few times and the cough is removed. If you use this prescription, you may be your own physician. If the first trial does not affect a cure, try it again. The best time to take it is before retiring. Letter 348. 1908. Selected messages 300. Second paragraph. I've already told you the remedy I use when suffering from difficulty with my throat. I take a glass of boiled honey and into that I put a few drops of eucalyptus oil, stirring it in well. When the cough comes on, I take a teaspoonful of this mixture, and relief comes almost immediately. I've always used this with the best of results. I ask you to use the same remedy when you are troubled with the cough. This prescription may seem so simple that you feel no confidence in it, but I've tried it for a number of years and can highly recommend it. Selected messages 301 now, first paragraph. Again, take warm foot baths into which have been put the leaves from the eucalyptus tree. There is great virtue in these leaves, and if you will try this, you will prove my words to be true. The oil of the eucalyptus is especially beneficial in cases of cough and pains in the chest and lungs. I want you to make a trial of this remedy, which is so simple and which costs you nothing. Selected messages 301, paragraph 2.
Thank you. So I remember coming across these quotations back in 2020. By then, I really still didn't know where to learn, or rather get the knowledge of herbs. I really didn't know how to use herbs to treat diseases. And so I came across a very beautiful topic in selected messages, a topic where these particular quotations have been drawn from, where she talks about, that is Ellen White, talks about her experience with usage of herbs and how they've been, like she writes her testimonies on usage of herbs, or the herbs that they've been using over time. And through that, I really desired to know more before I did a course with the Lay Institute of Global Health Training. And so in these quotations, we find some of the herbs. In this quotation, we find some of the herbs, or some of the ways we can treat the common cold symptoms, the symptoms for common cold and symptoms for flus. And these particular herbs, they do not only treat the symptoms, but they do away with the causative agents of these symptoms. An example is doing a warm foot bath, the last quotation, the last paragraph. Doing a warm foot bath with eucalyptus powder in it. That is the eucalyptus leaves, the powder in it. And this, we are told that there is great virtue in these leaves. What she means by there is great virtue in these leaves is they are healing constituents. They are powerful, or they are therapeutic constituents in these leaves. And if you will try this, you will prove my words to be true. Actually, eucalyptus tree, the leaves, they have some antibiotic properties. They have antiviral properties. They have anti-inflammatory properties. To mean you can use eucalyptus leaves. That's when making a formula. I normally prefer using formulas, like mixing several herbs and not just using one single herb for a particular disease. Mixing several herbs that have the same property. because herbs, they almost all of them, they almost have the same properties, but in varying degrees. An example, you cannot compare the antiviral properties of Pau de acro. Pau de acro is a herb, a very powerful herb for viruses. It's actually used as in one of the therapies, as like it's used um, as one of the herbs in the therapies for HIV. It's a very powerful antiviral. You cannot compare the antiviral properties of Pau de acro and the antiviral properties of eucalyptus leaves. Eucalyptus leaves, yes, they have antiviral properties, but in terms of percentage, in terms of strength, Pau de acro is more stronger. That's why I normally believe in herbal mixtures, herbal formulas, herbal combinations for treating diseases because of those varying degrees of healing. But the herbs that you can use alone, actually, the strongest ones. That's if you know that Pau de acro is the strongest antiviral, then there's no need using other herbs for viruses. If you have Pau de acro, you can mix it with other herbs, which will make it even more beneficial, but using it alone would as well be okay. So there is great virtue in these leaves to mean they have therapeutic or they have healing properties in them. And if you will try these, you will prove my words to be true. And then here, the next sentence, she talks about the eucalyptus essential oil. The oil of the eucalyptus is especially beneficial in cases of coughs. So eucalyptus essential oil, she says that it helps in cough. She says that it helps in pain in the chest. That is congestions, chest congestions, and the lung, that is the lung and the chest congestions. And so you can always use eucalyptus oil for that. I want you to make a trial of this remedy, which is simple and which costs you nothing. So you can do some, when someone has a cold or flu, you can try, aside from all that we mentioned, you can try a hot foot bath. Yes, ma'am, Catherine.
There are these coughs sometimes because of allergies. Would these eucalyptus essential oils also work for that?
For the coughs that come because of allergies, initially we say that you can use antihistamines for that. And one of the antihistamines that we mentioned were chickweed. Chickweed will greatly help for that. Golden seal will as well greatly help for that. For the coughs that come because of allergies, because of the hypersensitivity of the immune system. So golden seal will help, echinacea will help. Eucalyptus leaves, so the oil will as well help to some degree, but it is not that great an antihistamine. Antihistamine are drugs, a class of drugs that are used to treat allergies. So you can use chickweed, you can use golden seal, you can use, though most researchers say echinacea is not really good for a hypersensitive immune system, so we can just put it out of the picture. So golden seal and chickweed and sage is okay, you can use it, and astragalus can be used. There's no harm in using the eucalyptus leaves, you can as well try them. But if you use golden seal, it will be okay. Golden seal and the chickweed, it will be okay.
Thank you.
So the second paragraph, we already talked about it. I have already told you the remedy I use when suffering from difficulties with the throat. That is when your throat becomes, let's say, when the voice box is affected and you cannot speak. When the voice box is affected by an infection and you cannot produce a sound, you can boil honey and then put some few drops of eucalyptus. I said if you boil 1 cup of honey, you put 8 drops of eucalyptus essential oil, and you just stir it well. And then when the cough comes, I take a teaspoonful of this mixture, and the relief comes almost immediately. I have also used this with the best result. I ask you to use the same remedy when you are troubled with cough. This prescription may seem so simple that you feel no confidence in it, but I have tried it for a number of years and can highly recommend it. And then lastly, okay, there's no lastly, we'll just move to the next slide. As we finish, I see it's already 9:31. So under green pharmacy, this one here is stinging nettles. Anyone knows what this one is? This one here. Let me use my laser. Where the laser is dancing. Just a minute. Where my laser is dancing. Anyone who knows this particular remedy? Its name. This one here, where the laser is dancing. Anyone who knows the remedy? It's called broadleaf plantain. So this is the plantain, the broadleaf plantain. I don't know if Julia is in. Julia is not in today. So this is broadleaf plantain. And anyone who knows this, hey, this one is a very powerful one for colds. I remember overdosing myself on this particular plant. I had a very serious cold, and before the day ended, my cold was gone. I used a concoction where this one was one of the herbs. Anyone who knows it?
Horseradish.
Yes, horseradish. It's very good for colds, horseradish. And you'll find it in markets, your vegetable markets. Mm. You can forgive me for not horseradish. So I remember making a concoction of horseradish, lemon juice. I placed very high amounts of cayenne. Horseradish, I boiled the horseradish. I took about 50 grams, 50 to 100 grams of horseradish. Don't take more than 50 grams of horseradish. Horseradish is normally, at times, to an extent, it's poisonous. So you shouldn't use it for long times, and you shouldn't overdose. You shouldn't use it in high dosages. 4 tablespoons or less is enough for 500 ml of water. That's if it's wet, and you'll definitely always just find those that are wet. So it's also very good for the diseases that we've talked about today, the respiratory diseases. So it's actually also good for asthma, but we'll talk about asthma differently on some other day. I think the next slides are for asthma, but we want to get to asthma today. So horseradish. So this is the green pharmacy, or you can just write pharmacy. The green pharmacy. The green there stands for plants. So the plants that are used for treatment. So for laryngitis, You can use garlic, ginger, horseradish, mustard seed, mullein, echinacea, cardamom. For asthma, bronchitis, hay fever, and laryngitis, you can use stinging nettles, either the leaves or the roots, and these other ones can as well. These ones here that I've circled can as well be used for asthma, bronchitis, hay fever, and laryngitis. And then plantain, the broadleaf plantain. We have plantain, which is the fruit, that is the banana. But then we also have this plantain, which is a herb, the broadleaf plantain. You can use it for sore throats. You can use it for laryngitis. You can use it for coughs. You can use it for bronchitis, either. And then for sinusitis, that is the blocked sinuses, you can use garlic, golden seal, echinacea, eucalyptus, the oil or the leaves, that's the powder. Peppermint, you can use the leaves or the oil. Oregano, ginkgo biloba, horseradish, pineapple. And then for tonsillitis, tonsils, I've used cayenne, garlic, and onion with eucalyptus essential oil for tonsillitis with the best results. Eucalyptus oil with the best results. That is cayenne, eucalyptus oil, onion, and garlic with the best results. But echinacea you can use, sage you can use, elderberry you won't find it easily in Kenya, so just do away with it. Garlic, onion, ginger, cayenne, sage, echinacea. Those ones you can use for tonsillitis. And we'll talk about herbal uses, how you can make them, how you can use them, their dosages. And we'll talk about basic herbology. Just talk about basic herbology in this course. There's a different course where we talk about herbology deeply. But for level 1, we talk about the basic herbology that is needed. So another thing that is also good for common colds is black seed oil. Actually, when you use black seed oil alone, you can just do away with a cold and a flu. Black seed oil. It's a very powerful antiviral. You can use it for hepatitis, whatever hepatitis A, B, C. It's a very powerful antiviral and antibacterial. Black seed oil. You can use it for all these things that have been written here: laryngitis, bronchitis, asthma, sinusitis, tonsillitis. Yeah. So I believe that there is no question. That is just it for today. For asthma, we'll talk about asthma in some other, when talking about the lower. Asthma is part of the upper respiratory infections, but it's part of the lower, not the upper, the lower. So this is where we end today's lecture. I hope that there are no questions. Okay, why should I be hoping that there are no questions? Is there any question? Is there any question for today? So about how the herbs should be used.
How do you boil honey?
How do you boil honey? You just put a cup of honey in your favorite pot. Just put a cup of honey in your favorite pot. That is the sufuria. And then you can close or just leave it open, the pot. You can leave the pot open or close. And then put the heat on. It will boil. You'll just see it boiling. After some time, it will start forming some bubbles, and yeah, you just boil it as if you are boiling water, or as if you are cooking. That's just how it's done. Simple in that way. And those
Thank you. Thank you.
who make sim, they normally boil the right way. They're normally good sims that have been made with honey. In Quick Mart, you can always find them, though a bit pricey. But they normally boil the honey when making the sim so that it can easily crystallize once they put the sesame seeds in the honey. So thank you for the questions. I believe there is no one being left out. There's no one being left out. Okay. So just an announcement to make. This is our last class this year. We'll have a 2-week break. We'll have a break until 31st of December. So this is our last class. On Sunday, we won't have a class. We won't have a class until January. We'll have a break for 2 weeks and then proceed, or rather just continue from where we stopped. So if you have any pending assignment, this is the time you can at least try and do them and submit if you have any pending assignment. And then in this particular holiday, we've not talked about arthritis. So we were planning to give you guys an exercise to do, that is to volunteer. Volunteering in treating someone with diabetes or hypertension or arthritis. So we'll just do one disease alone, and the assignment will be written. We will write the assignment and then forward it to your emails. We'll put it in the Google Classroom and as well in our groups. So just be sure that in the 2 weeks, we'll also have an assignment where you'll volunteer to treat a disease. It could either be diabetes or hypertension. We've talked about the two. And we'll be just a phone call away if at all you'll need to inquire, to make inquiries about anything. Will just be a phone call away as you try and do hands-on treatment. So we tried to simplify everything when it comes to treating diabetes and hypertension so that we can find it easier when doing it outside there without any supervision. That's why we simplified everything into formulas. So I believe that everyone is okay with that, because I know that during this festive season, there's normally a lot that occupies our time, and so we wouldn't want to weary us and then continue the same tiredness when it comes next year, January. So the time won't be wasted. The 2 weeks won't be wasted. So we'll just proceed with our training as normal, and we'll add 2 more weeks. And we'll add two more weeks during the end. We will be having 2 weeks breaks actually. Two times before we end our lesson, our training. This is the first time, and then in early February we'll also have a 2-week holiday, a 2-week break where we'll also give the same assignment. You will be required to volunteer to treat 2 diseases that we shall have discussed. 2 diseases. Yeah. So yeah, that is it. Is there any question? Is there any question?
Where can we get the recordings for the previous classes? Apart from the ones you sent on cloud.
So there are 2 classes that have actually not uploaded on the drive, and the rest of the recordings, if I'll upload the 2, probably I'll upload one tonight and then the other during the day tomorrow. This one here has been recorded on YouTube. The last class is on YouTube. And the first 5 or 3 classes are as well on YouTube. So I'll try and compile all the classes that we have and give you the links, or rather where you can find them, all the classes until now. So actually this is the time you can as well go through the classes that you've missed and probably just ask questions about something that wasn't clear during the classes. So I've been planning, actually Joel reached out to me. I've been planning to compile the classes, just have a one message where we have class 1, the recorded link, class 2, class 3, all the way to today's class. I'm attaching a link to them. I'll do that hopefully before Sunday and get back to us. Thank you for bringing that up again. So someone can kindly pray with us.